policies on free entry, free traveling, free visa for ECOWAS member countries. That if Mauritania should need a visa to come to Ghana, what is the point of the membership? So if you could not do this, you can't ask democratic policies, whereas they found out that to some countries their democratic policies are accepted by the ECOWAS, some it is not accepted. And this is the same situation we face here. And for that matter, I said, and I'm saying that ECOWAS is, yes, written on paper. But if you ask me, or any diplomat, or any of the members who have been, let me call it presidents, who have had the chance to lead the ECOWAS, and the secretary generals who have had the chance to lead the ECOWAS at the level of the secretariat or secretariat, let anybody of them tell me that let's bring out, since the inception of the ECOWAS, how many of their charters have been signed by members? How many of them? If you have an organization, you have a charter.
Right.
You have the pact. You have the agreement.
A blueprint.
Yes, blueprint and then protocols. Can ECOWAS look at us and tell members, we, citizenry of the ECOWAS belt, that we have the ECOWAS, all the charters agreed, all the charters that they've sat on it, agreed. Foreign ministers of the ECOWAS have sat down. Parliament of ECOWAS, presidents or head of states of ECOWAS. Which one of them that we can say we are validating? Importantly of them, for instance, all the barriers are across the ECOWAS. My mother, your mother goes to Togo to buy something from Benin, for instance, Benin Republic.
Trade exchanges between these countries.
Trade exchange, bilateral, etc. Take from Lakoji border of the Benin, Togo, or take from the Nigeria Badagry up to Accra. You have not less than about 55 stops within Ghana alone, from Aflao up to Tema. Within Togo, from Lomé up to Lakoji. From Lakoji up to Badagry. What about going to the north of Benin to hit the belts and enter the Sahara side? What about Burkina Faso through Paga or through Bolga or through Boko? How many? And then also going to the West African belt proper, also to Mali, and then subsequently to Senegal. This is a region that we should not even be bothered too much, if it were to be in the case of Europe, about even getting flight. The most expensive region to travel by air is ECOWAS, West Africa. Whereas we could have a bus that should just only transit you through. But people, yourself, myself, and people over here will not be encouraged to go with it because of the stop. And then you pay every frontier. ECOWAS members, presidents, is it not part of the agreement that Europeans remove their borders? The answer is yes. Is that not the part where Europeans said that let's freeze the customs, let's open the frontier? You've been to Europe of late. I'm monitoring you. Did you see any barriers? Did you see any European getting to the point, a barrier Belgian border, and he has to come out and go and join the queue, and then immigration officer will collect your passport and sit down with it? Is that what you're talking about? So what is the ECOWAS meant? Now, I give you a very simple analysis. ECOWAS was supposed to do three things. One of them is economy. One of them is the social, and the other one is political. So let's take it one of the social will deal with the tribal settings, with the ethnic background, because it's only colonies or colonial masters that have set up the boundaries. But then on every frontier or any ECOWAS border, the people are here, they are the same. If you go to Benin, the Beninois, the border of Nigeria, they were Yorubas. You understand? The Ifan region, all of them are Yorubas. But they are in Benin side because of border. Let's leave it aside. So how does my family live here and I live here, and I cannot even, unless I hold passport or I hold this? It has come to be the case of ECOWAS. Now the social aspect, that is the ethnic and the tribal integration, it has not worked out with ECOWAS. And that is the key element, because government to government, you're talking about the presidency, you're talking about administration. What about we? This is a group of small people managing a country, but the citizenry that's supposed to see Nigerian as a Ghanaian, Ghanaian as a Nigerian, is that a bite? No, we don't have that one.
People to people relation.
People to people. So that aspect, which is the most highest and biggest ingredient that all blocks on the international community, especially the emphasis by the Europeans, that even though we have a different language, different tribal settings, different economic background, different colonial background, still they've managed to put themselves together
because
as one. There is a common interest of one understanding of a certain social grounds, and they've done and they succeeded. But we had this protocol drafted before the Europeans. It never worked. So leave the social aspect of it. Then let's come back to economic. Ghana, in a reference case scenario, about a year ago or 6 months ago, was trotting all over the world, asking European leaders, asking world leaders, asking the Japanese, asking the Americans, asking ambassadors of this country. You've had interview and you knew some of these things, telling them to mediate on behalf of Ghana to have a 3 billion, just 3 billion, are you getting me, money, bond, whatever that you call it, facility from where? IMF, International Monetary Fund.
$3 billion.
$3 billion. And you have a block that Ghana is a founding member since 1975. That May 1975, they say May 1963, so they chose May to May because who were the leaders. So if I should continue, then I'm asking. So ECoWAS members left with only 15 countries. So their budget, the ECoWAS hasn't got money sitting anywhere to support economically a member nation called Ghana that is crying all over, to the extent of German visiting ministers. Ghana cried before them. Ghana cried before the international platform. Ghana cried in China. Ghana cried everywhere that we entered 6-7 months a year ago. Whereas the destiny of Ghana was hanging on the neck of that IMF 3 billion. So Haiti, tell me, what community, what kind of association, what kind of organization exists that is called ECoWAS that they could not see and hear the cry of Ghana? And Ghana has to go and take a $3 billion facility from IMF, with particularly we know the sanction, the conditions attached to it affects you, affects me, affects everybody. Is that the ECoWAS? So now tell me, so ECoWAS hasn't got a fund that they can support economically a member state, if it exists as you think it does. So Ghana has to go to IMF. Nigeria couldn't grant Ghana 3 billion. La Côte d'Ivoire, they couldn't grant Ghana 3 billion.
None of the member states.
None of the member states. So I'm also putting the question across that all the presidents that have come to pass, all the diplomats of the sub-region, including the general secretaries, fantastic diplomats who have held positions with ECoWAS, can any of them tell me whether or not Togo owes Ghana 1 cent? Whether Ghana has ever given $20 to La Côte d'Ivoire as a loan or facility to help? Whether or not Nigeria, with all their money, have they been able to support any country in the sub-region? Has Nigeria given money to Sierra Leone as loan? No. Has Nigeria supported Gambia? No. Has Nigeria given money to Senegal? No. Has Senegal given money to Gambia? No. Has Gambia given money to Mali? No. Does Mali owe Burkina? No. Does Burkina do? Nothing. So what? Tell me the economic aspect. So the typical example of it is the fact that when Europe had economic recessions in 2015 and there was economic crunch, there was a breakdown. It took which country? Republic of Germany, to take Greece from being auctioned, quote unquote. And if I mean auction, the country was down. And in the case of, let's say, losing property or mortgage, it would have been auctioned as a country. Germany held them up. We won't let you fall because of what? One common economic interest. So the charter is working. They held them, and now Greece, they are bounced, they are back. Their tourism alone attracts money to pay off the debt of Germany and for that of European Union. Tell me which ECoWAS member country, diplomats, they should tell me, president, they should tell me that have done that. And now let's talk about politics. ECoWAS hasn't got any political charter. They play games with that political charter, write it and refer it, and go and ask His Excellency Zuma and ask Bola Ahmed Tinubu, His Excellency the President of Nigeria today, will come there, that They should tell us how the state and the correct proper charter, the protocols, how does it talk about ECoWAS? That the membership have agreed, quote unquote, that a certain democratic dispensation that they are preaching about, that democratic dispensation stipulates the fact that the member states should have 2 terms and no return. Or the member states should have a certain stipulated tenure of office, 2 years, 4 years mandate, 2 years, that is 2 years, no, 2 term, no return. So 448. Do we have that one? No. We have certain individualistic political agenda, i.e. tenure of office. So where is the political aspect of the ECoWAS? We are not in the social, which is the tribal, ethnic, etc. We are not in the economic assistance to each other. And then the politics. Now let's go into the politics. That has brought Madam Head to you, to my office here. ECoWAS politics. My first question is that His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu, we have 15 countries on the sub-region, was voted into power in the Republic of the ECoWAS mighty giant, Nigeria.
As a chair.
Yes, as a chair. He was sworn in 41 days, that is 1 month, 11 days. Then ECoWAS sat down cleverly, using their political charter, to appoint Bola Tinubu, His Excellency, aka Jagaban, to be the ECoWAS chair, the president, the chairman of the ECoWAS. At that time, I would say, if they are diplomats and presidents who understand what they were doing, the person didn't have a cabinet. He didn't have a foreign minister. I'm saying, quote me. He did not have a foreign minister at the time ECoWAS made him ECoWAS chairman. So my view, my simple question, if even you're a Nigerian president and you are going out of in diplomacy, you join a bloc, you cannot even just go and sit on the bloc and talk without consulting the Nigerian side of it. And for that matter, without consulting your foreign minister and your cabinet. That I'm made the chairman, I'm going to speak to this subject. How does it system works? He has not been a former president, neither was he a president before. The fact that he's been voted into president does not make him to understand diplomacy. I'm sorry, with all due respect. The people who are supposed to teach him or direct him must be people who have instructions of state, cabinet signature, that they can advise him on X, Y, Z. So who was his foreign minister that you people made him the ECoWAS chair? So he got up and he started talking big, which I agree, because the country is big. But he didn't understand, maybe to some extent, quote unquote, with all due respect, what maybe he might have done or he was doing. Because you needed it even not anything at all. Your foreign minister to test the grounds and see what is happening. Let him hear out. Let him just come and inform you. This is where we are going. The former foreign minister used by Buhari Fian, you could have contacted him, or they could have consulted him, or what is the situation? And I'm saying that in short, it was needless for ECoWAS to appoint His Excellency Tinubu, because he was already overburdened with the issue of now finding grounds of who will be his cabinet members. That is one. Two, his presidency had been contested by other interested parties, i.e. P2B and then Atiku. Now, about a month ago, he himself, unquote, says that if the Supreme Court, for whichever reason, should even recall or the election has to be rerun, he sees that P2B does not qualify. They should deactivate and devalidate P2B as a member or presidential candidate, and it should be a contest between him and Atiku. There is a more clear acknowledgement that there is a foreseen or there is an incoming maybe pressure that nobody knows. So how do you appoint somebody whose presidency is not even properly constructed? Because the verdict of the Supreme Court of Nigeria is pending, coming in 2-3 weeks. So assuming, quote unquote, His Excellency Tinubu has asked ECoWAS as a chairman that he's going to push pressure on Niger, he's going to fight. And he puts ECoWAS into fight. The election petition goes against him. And Atiku or whoever comes is not in agreement. So ECoWAS are sent to a frontier and we are hanged with the lives of military men Is that what we are saying that? Is that what we are thinking? So the presidency of Nigeria, yes, by law, election declared by electoral commissioner, independent. He says that Tinubu won. So they have to swear him in. But the same Supreme Court judge who swore him in, the Chief Justice who swore him in, the same Chief Justice will be the person either to swear another person in or the other case the other way around. So in effect, ECoWAS. So somebody like Patrice Talon of Benin, has he been a member, a president of ECoWAS? Answer is no. So what about the 15? Couldn't we have any of them appointed any of the existing presidents who is already a member for him to hold forth for the organization instead of somebody who was going through teething stages of his governance? And as we speak, he has now appointed his ministers who are yet to be vetted. As we speak, yesterday, day before yesterday, week before, Akpabio, who is the Senate President of Nigeria, has put the Nigerian Senate on vacation. They are going on holidays. Have you heard this?
Recession.
Yes, they are going on they say vacation. And they share good money. It is not my issue. That is the system. If that is the constitution of Nigeria, that's fine. But they are going to Senate. The president cannot take Nigerian military out. The military is not for ECoWAS. The military is Republic of Nigeria. The Senate have gone. They are the only people who can validate and approve and disapprove. Nigeria army going to war. And he's now giving 1 week ultimatum. The Nigerian Senate is on holidays, on vacation. So where is Ahmed Bola Tinubu? His 1 week. So you are talking about the Niger did not allow them. I would have told you Niger that open the borders and let's see who that comes. And tell me where the ECoWAS belt, where we have a standby military force of ECoWAS since 1975.
There is no standby.
They
were willing to mobilize.
How do you mobilize, my beautiful girl? How do you mobilize? You mobilize with funds. You go to war. Ghana couldn't get 3 billion from ECoWAS.
That is why international partners have pledged.
Listen to me. International partners, they pledge with their interests. We will come there. We don't worship international partners. We are allies. We are friends. They don't determine and dictate because they have also their interests. If international partners are the people determine the will of the ECoWAS, then we must as well ground, because we can use the ECoWAS as a block and go and petition the European Union that we want to be part. I would have pushed that agenda if I were to be Ahmed Bola Tinubu. I would have been, if I were to be Nana His Excellency Adodanko Akufo-Addo, and when he assumed the role of presidency, I would have asked the European Union that ECoWAS as a block will. Nothing stops European Union, regardless of our geographical position. We could have been a member of the European Union, our application, because Morocco has applied to be an ECoWAS member till today. We have not granted them. So you can cross carpet and join an organization. It has happened in other parts. So now, politically, what does the Cote d'Ivoire Constitution says? ECoWAS is here regarding the tenure of office. 5 years, day mandate, 2 mandate. It was what gave birth to the fight of La Cote d'Ivoire, and I'm referring the case of Laurent Gbagbo, when he had the chance to rule Cote d'Ivoire 10 years, ending his time, and then Laurent Gbagbo tried to screw up the constitution and go the third term, sparkling the argument of Soron Guillaume, said that will not agree, dividing La Cote d'Ivoire almost 6 years before Laurent Gbagbo's tenure ended, from Boaké to Danane, divided it and fought with the assistance with Blaise Compaoré for them to say no, we will not allow you. What happened after the elections, when there was a tie break, when there was they had to do rerun? What happened? Laurent Gbagbo didn't want even to, so he created state of emergency because he wanted to stay in power and go the third term. What did we see? There was a fight.
Right, it was protested.
It was strongly protested, leading the France and other allies or the rebels being able to descend down. General Watao, Bakayoko, Ibe, Koulibaly, and all of them descending from the north up to the south to fight, and made it possible that they removed Laurent Gbagbo, which was the law protecting the constitution of La Cote d'Ivoire for 2 terms mandate. Bingo. Is that not the case? Now His Excellency Alassane Ouattara had come to power. In my view, the old man within these 10 years, the job that he has done on the continent, I must say that yes, he's really worked. Not that withstanding, Alassane Ouattara end of 10 years, 2 terms has ended. But a year before, his party, APDCA, then there was a constitutional changes. Meanwhile, Soron Guillaume happens to be the Speaker of National Assembly. What does it mean? He's the number 2 of the country, and he was a party member of His Excellency Alassane Ouattara. So what it means is that when his time was up, everybody expected that Soron Guillaume would have been the person to succeed. We didn't see it like that. Soron Guillaume was sent to represent La Côte d'Ivoire, and he went out of the country. Incidentally, surprisingly, there was a coup plot hanged on his neck. He's in exile. He made it possible for His Excellency Alassane Ouattara to be a president of La Côte d'Ivoire. He's in exile. So Soron Guillaume, who pushed Laurent Gbagbo out to jail, he is now also in the same Belgium, in exile. Beautiful West Africa and ECowas. ECowas was silent on the subject. His own party, he could have used a presidential candidate either than he, Alassane Ouattara, because Bakayoko was his defense. He was there. Prime Minister Coulibaly was there. What did we see? Prime Minister Coulibaly died. Bakayoko died. Defense guy, how do you call it? Watao, he died. So the law, as constitutionally, ECOWAS says by, and we saw that Côte d'Ivoire law had changed, that you can't use MPP to go 3 terms. You can use NDC to go 3 terms, but you can use MPP in the case of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, ending his term tenure in 2024. Now he can switch from MPP and go and join PCP and contest the third term, and that is what brought His Excellency Alassane Ouattara to power. And then he swore in every ECOWAS member country went there to hail, and then this because he has worked, that's okay. But the problem of Côte d'Ivoire is brewing, because we don't know post Alassane Ouattara's 3rd term. Is he going to go for life? Is that not what he kicked against Laurent Gbagbo? But why is he's already in power, 3rd term. Was that the first one? We didn't hear any communique, we didn't hear any military. That's a coup d'etat, also with a pen, naturally. And that is worse than the military ones. Because the military coup d'etat we are talking about, none of them has killed a fowl, not even a chicken baby. So coup d'etat with a pen is dangerous more than what we see with the military front. So His Excellency Alassane Ouattara has changed the constitution. It was accepted by ECOWAS. Nobody complained. He's going on the 3rd term. Laurent Gbagbo went on the 2nd term. He was not allowed. You're talking about international partners. France is the international ally. They were part of the fight against Laurent Gbagbo. They were part when Alassane Ouattara was sworn into the 3rd term. Which country? We are talking about Guinea, Conakry. They've had a country with a history. The history is that it was the first ECOWAS sub-member, member state that got their independence since 1958 after Ghana. And naturally, France did not even grant them an independence because they refused to join the French Confederation or referendum of the ECOWAS member French countries in West Africa. They refused to join, and the French allowed them, okay, go. So in effect, it was a country that was under France, but it was country, I would say, that France naturally did not give them their constitution and then gave them time to go. No, they were so disobedient and strikingly against the French system, and then French allowed them. That is why they got their independence in 1958. So the first rebel, the first military, the first militancy was from Amadou Sékou Touré. So Sékou Touré was the first person who forced the French and then took up his own independence. What did we see? The French got heated. So in the year 1960, when there was a stimulation, French, out of anger, gave independence to all the ECOWAS member states, 11 of them. 1 month, 2 months after the another, Togo, April 1960. Then you go to Benin, July 1960. You come to Mali, September 1960. In that order, or the 1 year, he used 1 year to give all of them independence. Take your troubles and go because of setting Guinea. So ask me, how and why the French ECOWAS, West Africa, 11 countries, all using CFA, why is Guinea not part? Now the constitution of Guinea in perspective. I've talked about how His Excellency Alassane Ouattara had breached, even though, regardless of his best performance, I would say that best performance of his age and what he's done, the developmental infrastructure and economic in La Côte d'Ivoire. Nevertheless, democracy must be respected. So it brings you back to the Mauritania session that some countries are allowed to do others under the ECowas, some are not allowed. So when Secretary for 25 years ruled, and then after his death, and then came Louis Lassana, only 8 days, and then Louis Lassana Conte came and did the same 25 years and died, and Musa also came. Musa Traore. So,
Mr. Al-Wahab, are you saying that ECoWAS is hypocritical with its actions?
By the time I finish with my analysis, you would understand, not you to judge, not me, the West African citizen, the youth standing here, they will judge. So, leading up to Doumbouya is what I'm talking about. On records, and quote me, and quote ECoWAS members that who knows. Alpha Condé, who was deposed by Doumbouya, was the only democratic and the first democratically elected president of the Republic of Guinea since independence in 1960. During the time that Lassana Conte did 25 years, and then Secretary did 25 years, and Lassana Conte was when he went into exile in Côte d'Ivoire, and he was a Côte d'Ivoire cocoa merchant. He was a broker for Côte d'Ivoire in their cocoa selling. So he was based solely in Abidjan. And he was the one, like Olympia was living in Ghana, forcing the system that we can't be military. We cannot be military. So when Sekuba came, Konate, he ruled only for 1 year. Musa Traore ruled only for 1 year. So Sekuba said that no, we have a Democrat who is outside. Let us bring him. Alpha Condé came and the election was a soft touch. When he came, he said that no, even our era, our tenure of 6 years a mandate is too long. Democratically, let's make it 5 years. Hey, they all jubilated. So 2015, 2010 he came. He won. 2015 he won. It ends up in 2010. What did we see? Alpha Condé got up and he said that we have to do a constitutional reforms because he has majority in opposition. Before you and I got to know, Alpha Condé has what? He has changed. 2020, he changed the constitution. 2 terms that he himself propagated, that he pushed the agenda, that the whole world should see him as an ally, the whole world should see him as a Democrat. When he finished his 10 years, 2015, he went in for election, 2020, and then also won. Where was Doumbouya? Doumbouya, a young man of his age. When did he join the army of Guinea? Who made him a colonel? It is Alpha Condé. And interestingly, where is ECoWAS? That all the French-speaking countries, all of them, the presidency are built around themselves, what is called special forces. And the special forces does not respond to the army. They don't report to the army. So Doumbouya, even though a Guinean army, quote me and ask our brothers and sisters of the French, that why would France take Doumbouya to Afghanistan to go and fight as French legionnaire, whereas he was a Guinean army? What happened? Because a certain Alpha Condé took him to go and train. And then he came and took over. The coup d'etat in Guinea, nobody saw any bloodshed. And it was not the military that overthrew him or that staged the coup. It was the special forces that they took him off. Because he told the father, who is his uncle more or less from one town, that look, the military is angry. Because during the 3rd term, which the opposition were crying, they have political prisoners that he, Alpha Condé, arrested and kept them. So there was a heat. So he, the boy Doumbouya, had told the president that there's a heat. So there's a possibility that they might overthrow you. So let me take power. That is what happened. Today, what happened to Alpha Condé? When Alpha Condé was overthrown, what did we see? Periase had also declaration. Ministers led by Madam Ayoko Bochi, you were here. All of them, they went there. Doumbouya met them. After that, Alassane Ouattara and Co. But Alassane Ouattara broke the constitution before going to talk about Doumbouya. So Doumbouya referred him that why would you go the third time in Cote d'Ivoire and you are coming here? I'll take him out of power because he has abused the constitution, going on the third term. He took him and the old man. And at that time, I jokingly would say that when the ECowas were making noise, Alpha Conde was giving his couscous. He was eating all right. He was getting his medical attention all right. Today, quote me, Alpha Conde is a statesman. He's not in exile. He goes to Guinea in and out. They send him out. He went to Saudi Arabia. They bought a house for him. They bought a house for him in Dubai. And he showed those people Doumbouya would arrest from his government. Do you call that a military coup? Do you call that a military coup? It was coup made by special forces, a handover. Now that is the one of Guinea. Then let's talk about Goïta. Assimi Goïta was also a French legionnaire. He went with the French army. Nevertheless, he is not, quote, he is not a French national, a Malian. Why would he join the French army? To go to Afghanistan or go to other places? So Assimi Goïta came and he was in the north, Timbuktu, Gao, fighting insurgents. But you and I know that the whole West African belt, where is the ECoWAS of His Excellency Tinubu? Where's the ECoWAS standby? Mali had insurgents, terrorists, jihadists, rebels, Ansawad, Ansadine, are you getting me? The Maghreb, ISIS, 14 active operations of military uniform. Call it illegal army. Fighting with the central government, killing villages in Timbuktu. France moved forward that they are coming to save. But they never came to Bamako. They were on the desert. That was where Assimi Goïta was. How did he come down? How did he come down to fight and remove the president? Why did it happen? Abubakar Keita. Why did he remove Abubakar Keita? He removed Abubakar Keita 38 days. And he gave power back to Mba. And Mba was doing it because Abubakar Keita was bringing his son also to go the third term after his tenure went. After his tenure. Because Konari went 10 years. Keita was to go 10 years. When he finished, he was preparing his son. So that is why he removed him. And when he removed him after 38 days, he gave power. Then he saw the shake-up wasn't fine. Meanwhile, Sanogo had also done coup and spent only 8 days. Sanogo did the coup, only 8 days, and gave back the power. So you see, ECoWAS, nobody spoke about all these things. We didn't see the ECoWAS standby force from West Africa, that we are having problems in Mali. We are coordinated members having one organization. Let's go to Mali and help. Nobody did that. So this boy came back and said, Mba, please, after 1 year, step aside. So Mba rules only 44 days, 244 days. He set him aside and he said, yes, I'm back. Why would he who worked with the French army, why would he who was with the French in bed, I'm referring to Assimi Goïta, now manage to remove the president, call it constitutionally elected president, but then it was an interim government. He removed him. After that, there was a big talk. Our president, His Excellency, was the ECoWAS chair. Peduasi Declaration 1, Peduasi Declaration 2. All were given 8 months, 6 months, as they gave also to Doumbouya. Move out of power, else we'll come and remove you. What happened? Mali. Nothing. We are not speaking about Mali. Then Kabore was quietly taking also his fresh air in Burkina Faso. But let us not forget, any country with remnants of insurgents, separatists, vigilante, bandit, Ansawad, Boko Haram, Asawad, all these kind of groups in your territories, you have such uprising. Not forgetting that the history of Burkina Faso, since Maurice Yomiyogo time, they've had about 17 leaders, out of whom, up to the Upper Volta in 1984, was Sankara, and he migrated from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, leading to his death in 1987. From there was Blaise Compaoré, who assassinated his colleague. And today, he doesn't know where he is. I'm sorry, I pray for his life, but he's not in a good state. Compaoré ruled for how many years? How many times was he an ECoWAS chair? How many times was he not having an opposition and ECoWAS didn't talk? For 27 years, ECowas never made mention of Kampori. His tenure of office was 6 years indefinite. Where was the French? Did the French speak about it? No. So when Kampori eventually was taken about the mutiny, and then interim government, and then Kabori was sworn in, elected president. Now Damiba, Paul Henry Damiba, who removed him, he was also a special forces created by the presidency. Damiba was also a special force created by the same Kabori and then the group, and removed him. Why? The instructions was that, please, the people are slaughtering our villages. The terrorists have entered. The rebels have entered. They are burning down. Give us the military the power to go and face them squarely, because we have the capacity. Kabori didn't agree. So that led to the popular revolution of Paul Henry Damiba. Taking off Kabori, ECOWAS made the same noise. They quieted, they kept quiet shortly afterwards. Was that not a coup? They didn't talk. Now Damiba has to be removed, because the same idea that they were to fight was not allowing this small boy, 34-year-old guy, said that the second Sankara is here. He stepped out. Can 34-year-old boy look at the face of Macron and the French culture, the French presidency, and call the bluff that I've cut ties with you? So his revolution, if you are following up, none of these coup leaders move around with even a gun. Have you ever seen Traoré with a gun? Morsi doesn't kill Morsi. He didn't kill a fowl with his revolution. The same thing, Guaita didn't kill anybody, and Dumboya didn't kill anybody. All of them are Fula, Timini, whatever. They don't kill each other. Now the heat of Burkina Faso was also brewing, and some of us have even granted interview a year ago that West African ECOWAS should be very careful with how they are handling the issues of which one that country can operate, the other one cannot operate, citing why Mauritania withdrew themselves from the membership. So there had been a coup. To you and I, you call it a coup, but go to the streets of Bamako, wild jubilation, because the boy is actively stepping forward. For me, yes, his relations or Burkina relations with France, I'm not the one to talk. But then let it be as it is. He stepped forward that this is my country, I'm saving it. Now all the insurgents are out of the bush. He's fighting them because he didn't have the power from Damiba, he didn't have the power from Kabori, he did not have the power from Blaise Compaoré. What do we see? We saw that the same scenario, the same topic, the same subject of choose and pick was what is happening in Niger. Niger, from independent 1960, they've had how many? Several leaders, out of whom all of them, Lamiza, all of them are what? They are military leaders. So up to Yusuf Ahmedou. Yusuf Ahmedou had a chance to be the democratic elected president after the military regimes. And then he went five years. So who was his special forces commander? Today, Abdurrahman Chiani. He was the person in charge of the Presidential Protection Guide and the special forces guiding the presidency of Niger. So after Issoufou left, Bazoum won. But don't forget that there are two major tribes in Niger, the Fulanis and the Buzu. And the Buzu people, the half-caste, or the yellow ones, the Algerian belt, they are the people who are in the political, and the military are the dark ones. So throughout the presidency of Issoufou Ahmedou, it is this same Chiani, he was his special forces. So look at the trend. Mali had the special forces guarding the presidency. The leader overthrew the president. Guinea had one. Burkina Faso had one. ECOWAS never brought to their attention and asked the members. Ghana hasn't got special forces guarding the presidency.
No.
Are you getting me? ECOWAS didn't talk about it. And yet they have ECOWAS military commanders, defense ministers of the ECOWAS who are talking tough. We come on them.
They were sent in Niger to go and
They were sent in Niger. What is their locus? In their country, they should show us where their ECOWAS members with the standing force, where they are. Didn't they know what the special forces They were disrespecting the Central Army.
Right, so in order for us to understand the situation on the ground when it comes to what is happening in Niger, we needed to revisit history so we can connect the dots and understand what is happening. It is why we decided to let Mr. Al-Wahab give us history with regards to ECoWAS and its business with member states. At this point, we want to find out from him, since he's taken us back and made references to numerous cases that have taken place. I would want us to try and connect the dots so we will be able to tease out the challenges when it comes to the operations of the Economic Community of West African States. And of course, we will also look at the way forward and how best this can be resolved when it comes to coup in the sub-region of Africa. Mr. Al-Wahab,
yes, ma'am.
You were very passionate with your presentation or submission.
That's all.
Very, very, very passionate with your submission. And this in essence gives anyone at all watching, the ability to process and understand what is happening and why we are here. When I say we, it's very difficult for me to detach myself from events on the continent and even the sub-region,
yes,
because this concerns all of us at the end of the day. As a journalist, it is my job to speak to the people who can help us understand what is happening, because you cannot really, they say you won't be able to get to where you want to go to if you don't know where you are coming from. So there should be that kind of connection for you to know exactly where you want to find yourself. Presently, where we find yourself, we've moved from Mali, Burkina Faso, and now we've come to Niger. This, in essence, is to say that what is happening was to be expected. Is that right?
Eddie.
Was to be expected. Is this what you're saying?
Yes. Long expected. And still, we should be very careful where series of this kind of events is taking place. Because we have said, and we are all saying that we've chosen democracy. France, until 2002, what was their tenure of office? It was 7 years a term. I stand to be corrected, but that is the case. Until 2002, before they did it, 5 years, and then 2 terms. Supervision of the same French. Republic du Gabon. They have how many years term? 7 years, 7 years, 7 years, 7 years, until the second coming of the Almighty Allah, the second coming of Jesus Christ, and the second coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Gabon hasn't got a tenure, end of a tenure. 7 years. So if Odimba can win the presidency, he can win continuously. So, in a larger picture, AU is sitting there. They are part of the association or part of the team that were to enter Niger. They haven't asked the people what was the issue, but of course they knew. So now, France, as you made your introductory, is preparing, and has said and has promised to support the ECoWAS, to purge that coup plotters, take them out. And I'm saying that it has become a popular coup accepted by the whole military and the special forces. But the issue is not only about Niger. The issue is about those on the Tamara Said border, desert, those on the Arlet, Asamaka, up to the Hada Plateau, and we call it Rashinalu Bend of the West African coast, the West Coast. All the way the whole from southern Jeanette of Algeria coming through the Chad, going through the Chad, going through that side, Mali, botched, the whole place is botched with rebels. Why is France not helping? Because these are the insurgents that are feeding what is happening maybe on the front. Because they are saying that because we don't want this and the French is supporting that to do this, that is why we want to do this. What has the French got to say about that? What is the Malian saying against what the French was supporting Abubakar Keita? When his son, he was preparing his son to overtake, to take over from him. The French didn't talk. What happened to the Blaise Compaoré 32 years of ruling? And the French did not complain that it is not democratic. Whereas in Paris, it's 5 years. Jacques Chirac ended that from 7 years to 5 years. Why are they allowing their colonies in West Africa for anybody to go on any tenure that they want, including Republic du Lomé, Togo? Has the French seen it? So should there be, may God forbid, problem in Lomé, then France says that no, quit. So in another breath, certain countries might follow law and order. Ghana 4 years. When we embraced the Fourth Republic, we've never seen any coup d'etat. And Ghana cannot see any coup d'etat because we're green belt. We don't even have the military barracks to support coup. And we've agreed and understood politics. If not for anything at all, 40 million populated country, the only country in West Africa with that one single political party activist in jail. Clap your hand for the country, regardless of our economic flaws, regardless of our abuses. We don't have any insurgent in any part of the Ghanaian forest. We don't have any military uniform. We don't have any Al-Qaeda. We don't have any extremist group. We don't have any vigilante. Politicians were making noises, NDC, MPP, we have vigilante.
But recently we saw the Ministry of Defense and the Interior.
And then do what?
Rounding up.
Where are they?
Suspected.
Where are they? Where? Ghana should bring their security profile. You have red, gold, green. Let's see where we are. A country of 30-something million under President Kufuor in 2005, 2006. The most hardest, most wanted man in Ghana was Atai. A criminal. Was the most highly wanted person on the soil of Ghana under President Kufuor in 2005, 2006. And who was that? Atai. The ransom money put on his head by Kofi Boakye was 500 Ghana cedis. Do you call that country that you have insurgents? We understand security. You can overheat what is called security ports. I'm not saying that is the case. But security agencies or the security community can raise the bar. But let them tell me and tell you that they found some people with uniform in Obuasi. They found Ghanaian people in the bush. You know why? It is not possible. The reason is very simple. Ghana is not like the French. Ghana cannot have any insurgents in the bush. Get me clear. Because we don't have any rebel coordination. Any security couple in this country that challenges and say that we have it's a lie. Much as I give them the respect, you should be having your intelligence right. Ghana is not short of intelligence. It is that by the processing of intelligence that has our problem. This is the Switzerland of West Africa. Take it or leave it. Nobody can stage a coup. We keep making noise. Let's leave the French to solve their problems. Let's support them as a ECowas bloc member. Our case is far different. We have chosen the path of democracy. And our democracy is that, regardless of how MPP and NDC argue, it has not taken anybody with arms. And then the only existing fight in this country is Alavanyo and Konya. And they are using tear warfare to fight. Ghana military has not even been able to dissolve that. And now you are going to Guinea. You are going to Niger to go and fight.
If that were the case, then no country would, in solidarity, want to help another country resolve its issue or its problem. Because at the end of the day, if you are going to consider or look at the fact that domestically you have your own issues and therefore you are not, in a position to extend help to your neighbor or a neighboring country, then that's a very serious issue. That is not what I'm saying,
that they should not. Ghana is a part of the international community, if not even the ECowas. Ghana is seen as one of the top-class diplomatic hub on the entire world.
Right.
Taking, for instance, that the only African country that speaks first on the UN General Assembly is Ghana. Timelessly, including even our military leaders, they spoke on the UN General Assembly. Whilst the South African presidents were even there, while Nigeria president was there. So I understand how Ghana has positioned herself on the international diplomacy map. Perfect. And I'm not saying that we should not support our neighbors. I'm saying that the fears gripping the Ghanaians that because there's an insurgency on the border, Burkina has had a coup, Niger has had a coup, and then this and the case by case basis. Switzerland, it is still Switzerland. But Belgium was attacked. France had been attacked by insurgents or terrorists several times. Germany for one reason, etc. Swiss, nobody has gone there. Austria, nobody has gone there. Bulgaria, nobody has gone there. After the fall of Ceausescu in Romania, nobody has gone there. So I'm saying that whatever has happened to other countries, we should not have that fear. Much as we have to support diplomatically, much as we have to support. But I'm still saying that we should be very cautious The warning is that we should be very cautious not to be involved when it will happen to be a trigger of the sub-regional fights. Because some of these matters, the UN herself as a body, how many fights around the world in certain countries that are on the UN table that they've solved? How many of them on the AU that they've solved? None. A lot of them are unsolved. It's not that they cannot use military, but they're looking at the consequences. Now let's deal with the subject of His Excellency Tinubu and the ECowas minister, defense minister, going to Niger. Where are they passing to go to Niger? He has closed the SPs.
Until recently.
Really? Yes. He has closed the SPs, of course. But if you tell me that you are removing me in 7 days, then I said that my doors are open, come. They have closed the SPs. So you can't fly. Anybody is an intruder in the air. That one is fact. Their border. Niger border from the north. From Niamey, Agadas, Arlit, Asamaka, all the way up to Jeanette on the Haga Plateau, forming the North Africa and then South Africa, West Africa division. Then when you go to the east to the Mali, and then when you're coming to the south, you will call it, you're meeting the Nigeria border with Sopron against Leila of Sokoto. So Nigeria want to enter from Sokoto. Is that what you are trying to tell me? It will be a battle. They cannot cross. So if Nigeria wants to go and enter Niger, they have to go through Gongola side. And then Gongola will give them to Adamawa province of Cameroon, the Cameroon top, and go to N'Djamena and go and use charge. Now more trekking, no I'm desert to so Konko. It will not fly. So now, if there are 4 blocks who are friends, special forces boys who are taking government, Niger, Burkina, they border at the top. Enter Burkina, Mali, and then also we're talking about Guinea. All of them have a border with each other. And these are all union government now. Call them the bandits, who are all paired with one border. Against we those who want to rescue and go and remove the president of Niger, we are all in the south. And the south, we are on the coastal belt. Follow geography. Accra is in the coast. Bamako is landlocked. Burkina is landlocked. Burkina opens border for Bamako. And then the only seaport, that is Guinea. He goes through in on land border with Bamako. Bamako will enter Burkina. Burkina will, so they have 3 governments joined. And these are the battlemen, these are the fighters that we don't have. So if Guinea, Burkina, Niger, are you getting me? And then Mali soldiers are all forming one against Togo, against Bamako, Banjul. Adam Abari hasn't got a soldier. Gambia soldiers are not up to 600,000. I'm even being exaggerating. They are not even up to 10,000 or 15,000. Meanwhile, ECoWAS once again, key member, Senegal, the West African French diplomatic hub, the commercial is Abidjan, diplomatic hub is Dakar. What happened in Dakar? What is happening in Dakar? Abdul Wahab at 76 years when he became president of Senegal. The job he did is what Alassane Ouattara has done. Perfect. 2 terms after Abdou Diouf. Now, what happened? Abdul Wahab wanted to go the 3rd term. What I told you, the political side of West Africa, then there was a heat. We will not allow you. Senegal's pact, the only country in West Africa that has never had a coup d'etat, they is packed against Abdul Wahab. Septima, no, we will not. He washed his hands and stepped aside. But he wanted the continuity of his work and brought his own political stand called Macky Sall, today's president of the Republic of Senegal, made him a president through his party. Macky Sall assumed the role of a presidency. The old man had gone to Saudi Arabia on Mecca trip, pilgrimage coming. He stopped him in the air that he will not allow him, sparkling the biggest demonstration in the history of Senegal. But their system is different because they have the Tuba and they have the Alpha, who are the 2 religious bodies, like Sheikh Sharabutu and maybe one other. So when they speak, military whoever sits down. Let's just not forget and bear in mind that the longest serving and the oldest rebel group, terrorist group in the world is Casamance of Senegal. Nevertheless, they've never exploded. The oldest rebel group in the world, Casamance of Senegal, formed by women over 600-700 years ago. They've never used that to terrorize even the Senegalese because of the Alpha and Tuba. Now, Macky Sall came to power with all the father Abdouwa trained him. Abdouwa's son Karim, till today, he's in exile. When he comes to Dakar, he's in jail. ECowas didn't speak. ECowas have not spoken. Macky Sall has finished his terms in 2 months, 10 years. Now he has pushed the agenda of third Monday. Where is ECowas? Where are you? We haven't heard them talking. Yet Macky Sall, sparkling the demonstration, you saw it, you're a diplomatic consultant, you too, and affairs. You saw the demonstration in Senegal. Why? Because Ousmane Sonko, the 2-year-old boy, who is warming himself also to succeed Macky Sall with an independent party from Casamance. He said no.
Mr. AL-Wahab,
Yes,
admittedly, ECowas has challenges. Obviously, ECowas has challenges
Why did they
in
have
so
challenges?
many ways.
Why did they have
You
challenges?
mentioned
Economic challenges,
social challenges, political challenges.
Yes.
But I want to believe that in 48 years of its operations,
Yes.
I do believe that there are reforms in place to ensure that certain things are done right. This is not going to happen, in a day or overnight. It is going to take some time for them to get to where exactly they need to get to in terms of positioning themselves as a regional bloc. One would also argue that yes, if you're talking about the fact that ECOWAS has challenges and therefore it has somehow lost trust, credibility and confidence when it comes to the region. So what? Does it mean that the United Nations should be dissolved because the UN when it comes to world affairs or global affairs, they have their own issues at the same time.
In certain things.
So yes. At this point,
yes.
we do not want to focus so much on the challenges, the problems. What is the way forward? Though some, I'm able to tease yes. some out from our conversation, yes. but you, as a diplomatic consultant, yes. going forward, having to put its home or its house in order. What would be the approach?
The first approach is that the organization must see herself not to only hurriedly and do like ad hoc decision in solving problems, but rather be preventive. So prevention is better than cure. And they are doing cure, which you don't have the medicine and you don't have the money for that cure. So what do you have to do? You do prevention. So the prevention is that, let's pick up the political subject of the ECoWAS. Let us all agree that all those having long term, sitting in government, who do not allow the opposition leaders, putting and clamping down the opposition parties, putting them in jail, funding a democratic coup d'etat to manipulate the system or prolong term of stay, ECOWAS that will be my first proposal. Second proposal, if it is an organization of 17, 15 member countries, that has a strong GDP when put all together, and they cannot grant a loan of 3 billion to Ghana, then they must start having a fund. We have EcoBank, you have ADB, we have whatever. What happened to the ECO, the money that they wanted to have?
Talks are in place.
Talks are in place. They are in the pipeline. That is why West African pipelines are choked. Because a lot of topics are in the pipeline that they haven't dieseled them. And ECOWAS might diesel those pipelines. The bottom line is that you cannot look at the face that you do selective justice when you have one association. There are certain members, we don't tag them. Look, one thing I refuse to tell you, I didn't tell you, what led to the Bazoum, his coup d'etat, was when the special forces and the army have told Bazoum that now the insurgents this boy has pushed the insurgents out. Traoré, he pushed them out. And they entered Guinea side, Niger side. And they were seeking just permission that we are army. We are strong enough to go and face them on the desert. Bazoum told them that, quote me, and let Bazoum or whoever is listening, if Niger embassy is here, let him confirm or disagree.
Yes, we have embassy of Niger here.
Yes. Bazoum, now they should be down maybe. Bazoum told them that he can only give them the permission to go and fight unless he consults France. That got them angry. Before you go and then quench the fire, allow the military to go and fight. Meanwhile, the same Bazoum had been, quote unquote, been termed as Ansawad person. He has been termed as one of the leaders of those revolutionary rebels who were stealing the properties, uranium, gold, etc. on that belt. Bazoum had been accused several times. So if you will not allow us to go and fight the insurgents, then military we are pointless, we don't exist. We will not allow them to come to Niamey to come and kill us, so we will fight you out. And it was the case of Kabore that he was removed. It was the case of Paul Henry Damiba that he was moved. So let us look at it from the point, as we are asking for solutions. ECoWAS must really look at their charter. And the three power points, the social, economic, and then the political, they have to really look at it. Then my last thing will be the integration of the ECoWAS. It's long overdue. Madam Hetty is saying that they have to do this, the talk is on the way. Please, the talk has been on the way since 1975. Go and read out the dossier. Go and read out the docket. Go and read the protocol, and see Brofo English and read French. It's very deep. Which one of them have they done? So when are we waiting? How long? How long do we have to wait for solutions? So I'm saying that don't look for only solution. You must be a bad mother to always going to resolve conflict of your bad son, but rather be a mother that your son will be advised not to go and create the problem in the first place before you go and kneel down in the school begging for readmission. I hope you understand me. So ECoWAS need that kind of a solution, prevention, but not the cure. Put that one aside. How ECoWAS will mobilize l'argent, money, stand by, that member states are in crisis. How can the whole ECoWAS box together with African Union cry, they come next time, let me brief you, and cry the West. Then you are crying because Russia, Ukraine, that has no border with you. And you have more water bodies, you have more grains, you have green forests, you have fertility land, you have the youthful population of West Africa, and the most dense populated in the whole African continent is West Africa. Dense populated, with Sudan body, between 18 years and 38 years, we are about 59% to 60% graduated. Seriously?
That takes me to Wagner's interest to come into Niger to help them drive away terrorists or fight terrorism.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
Well, you see?
Is it a matter of interest?
If it is a matter of interest, Wagner is not a political party in my view. Of course, it's not in doubt that Wagner one sees it as an international mercenary group. But then, not delving into world politics, then I can also say that there have been a lot where situations where internationally known, coded mercenary groups, terrorist groups, rebellion groups that have been supported directly, indirectly by international community to fight against certain systems. So therefore, Wagner, to me, Russia says that they are not our troops. Then one would also ask, how did they come onto the soil of West Africa? What is happening? I thought, and I have always thought that, hey, ECoWAS more existed. So if it's true that Wagner is in Burkina and Wagner is in Mali,
don't you think it's true that Wagner
well, I
is in
think that is
Burkina?
what we've heard. But me, I've not been to Mali and Burkina, so I can't validate the story. But then if there's a Wagner as we've heard it, yes, bingo. So ECoWAS must first and foremost maybe deal with Wagner. But before dealing with Wagner, the countries that Wagner is supporting, quote unquote, if that is the case at all, they are saying that rebels are killing us. You saw the case of Niger. They slaughtered the villagers. They cut their heads off, the king and the chief, and made their kids rape their mothers and kill them. That was what the rebels were doing. And they were seeking permission from the sitting president Bazoum that let us go and attack them. He didn't agree. So therefore, if ECoWAS have a standing force, until His Excellency Tinubu said, which I didn't know, let them come forward. Let them go. And then deal with the situation by solving the problems militarily. Mama, military. Don't sit until you go and seek permission that France should come and support. Why Niger will be the question you take to the public. Why Niger? That the French want to support the ECoWAS, but not Guinea. Why not Mali? Why not Burkina? Why Niger? If the whole West Africa is in crisis. Why the international community have not supported ECoWAS to deal with the Wagner issue? Because the Wagners are saying that we are claiming that the international mercenaries guiding them. But that is not the first time international mercenaries have come to the West Africa. Obiangema, Theodora Obiangema, Musso of Guinea. He had mercenaries that were guiding him. ECoWAS was aware. Nobody talked. Obiangema had mercenaries. You remember? Out of whom even the son of the queen, you remember in those days, was accused that he coordinated people from Zimbabwe. They were coming to even attack Obiangema, and they were international mercenaries. We didn't hear much about that stories when they were arrested and how they were discharged. So listen, I condemn in totality that anybody with uniform, it is in our charter, it is in the conventions, it is in the books of any country that's with sovereignty countries or sovereign countries with sovereignty rights. They have bringing somebody a uniform onto the other country's land. It is forbidden. But what do we see? There have been a lot of instances that is not for this platform because of time, maybe because we're dealing with ECoWAS. So ECoWAS must first deal with the issue of tenure of offices. They must stipulate the constitutions, even though we cannot have the same constitution because of what? Political or colonial background. But nevertheless, if you are economic community of West African states and you are having three vital items to deal with, which is the same thing guiding principles of the European Union, the United Nations and others, then I am saying that they must stick to and bring on the table who succeed, what is the succession plan and what is the governmental tenure, presidential tenure. Not to allow somebody to go 7 years until the kingdom comes and somebody can go only 4 years. And not to allow certain party to certain government, certain president to keep political prisoners in their jail. ECoWAS have never spoken about that subject. Ask ECoWAS members, if you have the chance to ask, they've never spoken. And I give you a typical example of Pacha. So, they have a problem to deal with, and until they are prepared to solve that problem, the issue of expected coup d'etats should be looked at.
Let's talk about the implications of this, what Niger is going through right now, the crisis in Niger, the implications, they are going through turbulence. Let's talk about its implications on the West African region and the entire African continent.
The African region?
Politically, socially, and economically. Let's look at it from that angle. This will be our last question as we wrap up.
The political aspect is when the ECoWAS does not bring down the pressure and make an attempt that indeed they are entering militarily to go and force Bazoum, or they are going to reinstate Bazoum's government. Ideally, that is beautiful. Is that not it? However, if these people defect, because the army has claimed that they are supporting the regime, the special forces are supporting, and the people of Niger are supporting. So if there's an escalation, then you cannot only deal with Niger and leave the other governments in isolation. So ECoWAS must be prepared to deal with these 4 governments that came through military coup d'etat. But if selectively they are going to deal with Niger, that is a fine show. So ECoWAS must bring down, as it has always been, let's go down on the table. Let us make sure that the government or the head of state today in Niger, he will not abuse the people first of Niger. He should not just unwarrantedly keep them in jail or arbitrarily arrest them. No, that one should be. Human rights must be respected. These are the areas ECoWAS must gradually be heading towards. Because in finding solutions in a diplomatic issue, complex issue, look at what has happened. Niger, for the first time in their history, they cut Nigeria off. They've cut off the French, and for that matter, the Americans. It is a serious game. Niger is able to stand and say that, come on, Nigeria off, come on, America off, French off. It is unheard of. But let us not forget one simple thing. That when ECoWAS with all this sanction, with sanction, what can ECoWAS, what have they sanctioned of? The sanction of ECoWAS is just only they turn the table at the ECoWAS summit, nothing more. Because if you have sanctions, because you are not able, if Ghana was supported the 3 billion by Togo, and Ghana there's an uprising, Togo said, let me have my money. That is how sanction works. America says that your money is my country. If you don't move, I will not give you. That is a sanction. America is saying that I'm supplying you this. If you don't move, that is sanction. Tell me one single sanctions that any of you can think of that ECOWAS had ever succeeded against any regime. Zero, because you don't have the balls.
So in other words, you are saying ECOWAS has no influence.
They know they don't have the influence. They know they don't have the influence. And I've told you the influence they have is what? Economic influence? No. Look, among ourselves, 4 English countries, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, we are sandwiched in between the French. We are sandwiched in between the French. What have we seen? Even the French language or the English language, to make it something that would have been very comfortable, because we live in the global world now. A Ghanaian gets to Lomé. Ça va? No, you know, I mean French. Togolese, now the French are even trying the English. What about us? We are speaking Queens. I'm putting before you that with what you're doing, let me first and foremost say that, well, there's the best of its kind. I must say that I'm seeing this not only in Ghana, but it's the first time that certain group, a certain TV or a certain station or certain group like yours have put themselves to deal with the diplomatic subjects, and you call it international relations, I'll call it international affairs of the Africa continent, the world at large. You're making people, creating the awareness, some to understand the European version, because you are interviewing European diplomats, etc. I must encourage you.
Thank you so much, Farouk AL-Wahab. Thank you so much for your time. We truly appreciate your time. We are very much grateful for your time. They say the weight of the issue determines who is called to carry it. At this point, we all know what is happening in the sub-region of Africa. This is not just about the sub-region as in West Africa. This is even beyond the African continent. The entire world is very much interested. And that is why we are looking at all avenues to resolve this issue. My name is Harriet Nati. The show is Diplomatic Affairs, and I look forward